I'm Austin Prey, senior reporter here at Payments. Joining me today is Brendan Barry, head of payment products at Ripple. Thanks for joining us today, Brendan.
Thanks for having me, Austin.
And today we're here to discuss the rise in crypto and blockchain for payments. And so just to kind of to level set the conversation, can you just describe the crypto landscape in 2023? The market, the regulatory environment, kind of after the winter of 2022. And then maybe tell us a little bit about Ripple and kind of how Ripple differs from maybe other payment solutions.
Yeah, so a word you used within that question, winter, is a synonym for a bear market. And that's the current stage that we're in. Coming out of 2022, we started the year with a lot of growth, both in terms of investment as well as broader adoption. And you can see that really quantified with the crypto markets. And what happened through 2022 is there was a lot of both layoffs, companies going under, as well as consumer losses, which is really unfortunate to see. One of the things, though, looking at the current state where we're in, which is really my approach of looking at glasses half full, is we're coming out of the period with a really healthy skepticism, separating what was a large amount of hype and speculative investment that was driving a lot of the bull market activity from companies and technologies that are really solving customer pain points. And so when I think about this period of 2023, it's a period to be excited if you're a builder, because this is the time to roll up your sleeves and create with the focus on driving real utility. And knowing that the participants in this space are carrying that skepticism, really identifying companies and solutions that are solving real problems and are not technology in search of a problem, which is what you saw in many of the sort of downside of the winter or pullback and coming into 2022. So as a company that has been around, we've been around for over 10 years, we have a really great history through market upturns and downturns that's really guided by a long-term focus on key customer problems and being steadfast of taking the approach to not get distracted by changes in focus of hype or speculation, but rather hardening around customer pain points and delivering solutions that solve them. The second part of your question, and sorry for being a little long-winded, was about Ripple and what we do. And as a company, we're focused on enabling value to move at the speed with which information moves today. And our origin statement and our origin entry point has been around payments. And we've more recently expanded to solve adjacent customer problems around tokenizing or managing digital assets, whether that be stablecoins or CBDCs, as well as helping organizations manage and access digital asset liquidity. But our core focus and our primary flagship product to this date is really a solution for enterprise customers that helps them initiate cross-border payments instantaneously at a low cost with high availability, transparency, and resiliency.
And so can you just build on that a little bit more? Kind of what is your current perception of where cryptocurrencies, maybe broadly, doesn't have to be necessarily specifically about Ripple, but can definitely use Ripple as an example. Where do they fit within these enterprise payment use case? And then kind of where are you seeing strong demand? Kind of who's getting behind this type of future fit solution?
Yeah, so I think implicit with your question is the fact that we have seen really significant adoption and interest from businesses in the last handful of years, and that's been continuing to accelerate. And when I think about the underlying reason for why adoption is increasing, it's because there's utility. And that's not specific to blockchain or crypto. It's specific to any new technology. If it's solving a real customer problem, you will see a rise in utility. And when I think about what are the problems that are solving, blockchain promises and is already delivering on reducing the cost to move funds, increasing the speed with which you can move funds, increasing transparency in that process, all while increasing availability of being able to move funds 24/7, 365. And you see that reciprocated in many industry leaders and how they're approaching development, as well as their partnerships that they're making. We partnered recently with the US Faster Payments Council in order to survey a broad base of industry leaders. And we saw more or less 100%, 97% of surveyed participants viewing blockchain and crypto as a really key opportunity to lower cost for payments. About 90%, to lower speed, meaning to increase speed. About 90% viewed crypto and blockchain as a major enabler to lower cost. Exactly the same promise that it's currently delivering. And when you see that in terms of where, you see a lot of more mature parts of payments really leaning in. Another survey showed that about the remittance industry, both individual remitters as well as remittance companies in the US alone, were responsible for driving about 350% increase in crypto payments adoption in the last 3 years. So you're seeing tremendous lean in by remittance companies via data and surveys. But specific to us, we're seeing adoption not just within remittance, which are highly price sensitive and really impacted by inefficiencies in cross-border payments, but we've seen large corporations lean in for payroll or paying suppliers, as well as financial institutions more broadly who are trying to move funds, even for use cases such as treasury, moving funds across their organization, pre-positioning capital in order to deploy across their organization more broadly. And so there's a large amount of interest, primarily due to the utility that crypto is creating. And that's really an awesome thing. But the important part to really emphasize here is this technology is super nascent. The innovation is really just getting started. The industry has been around for about 10 years. And if you look at the analog of a transformative technology such as the internet, there were many market cycles and many waves of adoption, but ultimately where the internet was able to really solve problems and change human behavior is where adoption really took place. And you're absolutely seeing that in payments today.
And just, I guess, diving or touching a little bit more on that utility, is there, like an element of programmability? Like, can, treasury teams, can CFOs kind of construct these, business payments around maybe their own working capital needs, their cash flow kind of roadmaps, or is that, is that a potential? Or
I love that question, and your question is around programmability and say, hey, if I know I need to move something, can I automate or provide efficiencies? And let me invert that premise a little bit and just say, if I'm a CFO or I'm working in a treasury department of an organization, I am taking on a lot of behaviors that I don't even realize are inefficient because I accept them as the status quo. And the reason behind that is, traditionally speaking, the both technology, infrastructure, and systems with which I rely on to move funds, correspondent banking, as well as international wires, result in all sorts of pain points that are passed on to me that I accept as fact. Those pain points include international wires taking anywhere from 1 business day, best case scenario, to 7 business days to settle. Needing to initiate payments Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and not having flexibility on nights and weekends, just to name a few, results in, if I'm a treasurer, needing to build a lot of function and skill around planning how much funds I need at a particular point in time, which is really what you're getting at, planning ahead. And I fundamentally don't agree with the premise that we need to accept that as fact. And instead, this technology provides us an ability to allow for flexibility and agility. So if I'm a treasurer, I don't need a plan ahead for, hey, I think I'm going to need X amount of funds in the future. When I need to move funds, I can do so 24/7, 365, Christmas morning. It doesn't matter. And I don't need to park my working capital and trap it in a Nostro account. There's $10 trillion of capital that's parked and locked in Nostro accounts across the globe, all waiting for deployment by these treasurers and CFOs and financial institutions that you mentioned, that they can deploy across their organizations by using solutions like Ripple Payments to initiate funds on demand and not pre-position them. And so, yes, you can program payments when you know you need it, but when you don't have precise and forecasting and don't want to risk being over or under forecasted and the cost and burden that takes, these technologies create incredible agility.
Awesome. And then just what about fraud risk? Is blockchain more secure than other payment rails?
So blockchain is a technology, and fundamentally technologies can be deployed in ways that are more or less secure. And on top of a technology or utilizing a technology, you have businesses creating applications and use cases. And the approach that we take at Ripple via Ripple Payments, we work with licensed financial institutions. So from a compliance and risk standpoint, you get transparency benefits in the context of a technology that provides ultimate transparency to funds movements. But then on top of that, layering on in a very compliant and consistent way, working within the bounds of systems and regulations. And so I'll just say that the technology does provide benefits in form of transparency, but then how one applies technology, it leads to either more advantages or less advantages in the form of risk.
Totally. And then, we talked a little bit about, programmability, kind of real-time settlements, and just, these benefits that kind of CFOs, treasury teams, and, people who are on either side of a payment, are getting from using crypto or a blockchain, payment solution. Is there anything more to say kind of about Ripple itself and how, your guys' solution differs from maybe some of the other payment solutions out there in the market?
Yeah, I'll say Ripple Payments, our cross-border payment solution, really differs in that it's allowing this flexibility to our customers that previously they didn't have. And so it's a really interesting paradigm, and it's such a light bulb moment when you get to talk to our enterprise customers and say, hey, walk us through how you are operating your business today, how you are initiating payments today. And that same sense of anxiety and frustration of, when I go to initiate an international wire, I check it later in the day, I check it the next day, I check it the next day, and I hope and I pray that it clears and it settles and there are no issues. And showing them a solution that gives them a quote in terms of 2 fiat currencies with all complexity associated with interacting with digital assets completely obscured, but allows them the benefits of interacting with digital assets, namely instant settlement, 365, 24/7 uptime. It's really incredible to see how much that impacts an organization, allowing them, again, that agility, but allowing them an ability to deploy all sorts of working capital across their organization, really creating a boon to their efficiency that they previously didn't have, and just assume that was a constraint that they had to operate under.
Got it. We're kind of at the end of my questions. Is there anything that you don't feel as though we didn't give enough time to, or that you'd like to maybe highlight specifically in some of these closing minutes?
I'll just say, I think we're at a really, really, really exciting time when you're having more and more companies that are not only investing in creating products in this space, but are really solving problems. And you've seen a broad interest in institutional adoption, whether that be from companies like Visa or MasterCard or Amazon. You've seen institutional entrants that are driving more liquidity and more utility. And the reason behind that, and our focal point at Ripple, is because utility is here. It's not a promise of the future. Blockchain used to be a technology that was focused on in these types of conversations of what could it do. And we're at a paradigm right now where what is it doing? And it's solving real customer pain points and problems. And I think cross-border payments is really an incredible space where you can see that impact today, here and now.
Great. I think that's a very, very salient note to end on. Thanks so much for your time, Brennan. Great to get the chance to speak with you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.